What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of MLB action here on Friday, May 17th. Not exactly what we had in mind on Thursday, guys. We ended up going 2-2 overall, which isn't awful on a short slate. We missed out on the Phillies minus 142. That little winning streak for them finally comes to an end. They were looking really good at a couple different spots. They had a chance there in extras, but eventually ended up losing in extras. We saw Tampa Bay and Boston. That under didn't come through for us either, but we easily hit the Yankees minus 112 as our early pick. That one was no sweat at all, and we also hit the over in the Pittsburgh-Chicago Cubs game. That one was also no sweat at all, so 2-2, not a big problem. Let's see if we can get back on the big winning track like we have been here heading into the weekend. First, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description and go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Chicago Cubs. The Pirates and Cubs are currently playing right now in the top of the fifth inning, guys. We see that Pittsburgh is up 3-2 with 2 outs in the top of the fifth, so we're definitely hoping that Chicago and Pittsburgh can combine to score more than 7.5 runs so we can get that one right. We see the Pirates have to be pretty excited in this game. They're handing the ball in this one to Paul Skeens, hoping he can turn things around for them. Obviously, 19-25 is not where they're hoping they would be, especially after getting off to that hot start. But man, what we saw from Skeens in his first outing was pretty electric stuff, but also, I mean, he got touched up, guys. I mean, it was by the Cubs, so a team he's going to be facing. In his first 2 starts of his career, he gave up 6 hits over 4 innings. He had 3 earned runs surrendered and a home run in that one, but he also struck out 7. I'm expecting him to like settle in a little bit in this game. I mean, I had to have a lot of, a lot of nerves, a lot of emotions there going out in his first start. I mean, he was throwing absolute fireballs out there. Like, it was crazy. I can't remember how many times it was he topped 100. Was it 7 times or 11 times or something like that? But throwing absolute fire out there, but not exactly the result he was hoping for, I'm sure. I mean, we did see the Pirates get the 10-9 win in that game, so take that for what it's worth. I mean, they got the win in the game that he started, but it really wasn't due to him. I mean, he didn't look great out there, and the Pirates offense hasn't been looking amazing, although they have scored 4 runs so far through only 5 innings in this game, so definitely take that. Obviously, nothing wrong with that, but man, over the course of the season, throw out that hot start, and this has been maybe one of the worst offenses in the entire major leagues, guys. I mean, they just have not been hitting the ball well whatsoever. I mean, they're 27th in team batting average, 24th in on base percentage. Like, over their last few games, like, obviously we're not going to count this one that they're in right now, but before that they scored 2, 3, 8, 4, like, just not having a great time swinging the bats right now. Maybe there are some small signs of life, I mean, especially since they're doing decent in this current game, but this isn't a team that we can really look to for consistent offensive output, and I guess the same could kind of go for the Cubs, at least at times this season, but they haven't looked awful. I mean, they are 25-19 on the season. They're handing the ball in this one to Kyle Hendricks, a guy who has looked just atrocious at times this season, but since coming back from the IL there, we saw him come out and have a very solid start here against the Pirates. He went 5 innings, gave up 2 hits, only a single earned run. He did walk 4 in that game, but it's his first start coming back off the IL, so like, we'll cut him a little bit of slack, not a ton of slack, guys, just a little bit of slack. I mean, I don't think we were expecting miracles from him in his first game back, and I mean, 5 innings, giving up only 1 run, that'll work. If you had to pitch yourself out of trouble a little bit and you were able to do that, good for you. It just shows that he's healthy now, it looks like, and maybe he made some adjustments, I don't know, but things looked really rough in the early goings, like insanely rough, and then went on the IL, came back, and now he's looking good. The Cubs offense in general has looked pretty decent this season. I mean, they bordered on being a top 10 offense there for a while, but that doesn't really feel like it has the legs to be the case. I mean, although they have started to get healthy a little bit, so maybe that will help, but they are 10th in the majors in runs scored with 202 runs overall, but they're only 18th in batting average, 10th in on base percentage, so that's somewhat promising, 14th in slugging percentage, so this isn't a terrible offensive team at all, and they had a very good time against Skeens their last time out, and we saw the Pirates not have a good time against Kyle Hendricks the last time out. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Pirates at minus 104, we see the Cubs at minus 112, and we see an over-under in this game of 8. Guys, I'm not too interested in the under, as we see both teams showing trends towards the under. I just don't have a ton of faith in Skeens here, and I don't have an insane amount of faith here in Kyle Hendricks. Maybe if we had some crazy number like 9, you could talk me into the under, but in this one, guys, I'm just looking at the Cubs minus 112. I think this is a pretty reasonable spot. I think we could see Skeens pitch a little better, but even if he's a little bit better, like, how good is that really? And even if he's throwing fireballs, if guys are turning those fireballs around on him, like, it doesn't really help too much. So go ahead and give me the Cubs minus 112 in this one. They're 13-6 this season at home, and the Pirates are only 10 and 13 on the road, so give me the Cubs in this one for sure. I think this is a pretty good spot. Next up, guys, we're going to the Washington Nationals going on the road here to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Nationals come into this game fresh off of a loss, back-to-back losses actually against the Chicago White Sox, so that probably doesn't feel great. However, they are 20 and 22 on the season, and given where this team looked like they were going to be like before the season started, I think they probably feel like they've overachieved at least a little bit here so far. They're handing the ball in this game to Jake Irvin, who's 2-3 on the season with a 3.55 ERA, and his last time out, he looked very good against the Boston Red Sox. He gave up only 2 earned runs, over 4 hits, over 7 innings of work. Like, that'll definitely get the job done, guys. I mean, pitching on the road, unfortunately for his team, they didn't get the win in that one, but man, wasn't his fault. He looked very, very good out there in kind of a bounce back from a very weird start against the Toronto Blue Jays where he gave up 4 runs. None of them were earned, though, over 5 innings. So, I mean, the guy hasn't necessarily been lights out, but he has one very good start, one very bad start against the Dodgers. So he could kind of do a little bit of anything, but I think he probably feels decent coming into the start, although pitching against the Phillies has not been a fun time for really anyone this season. The Nationals offense has obviously not looked great. I mean, just struggling over their last 2, scoring 0 runs over their last 18 innings. Not a great look. This team is all the way down to 25th in the majors in runs scored, 18th in on-base percentage this season. They're 25th in the majors in batting average. Like, this is definitely looking like a bottom third of the majors offense to me. I mean, maybe there's some chance they claw back out. They've had some hot runs this season at times, but that's not really happening for them right now. Just not a lot of positives to point to for this offense, and they're gonna need to score some runs here against a Phillies team who's trying to mount a comeback right now against the Mets. They're in the top of the 8th inning. The Phillies are now up 3-2 after being down 2-0. So we're hoping they can hold on in that one. They're trying to finish off a 4-game sweep of the Mets. Yeah, so we'll just have to see what actually happens in that game. But in this one, it'll be the first game of a new series, and they're handing the ball to Zach Wheeler, who's looking to have a bounce back, guys. The dude has been lights out all season long, with the exception of this last start against the Marlins. Back on the 12th, he got shelled by the Miami Marlins, guys. Not something you expect to see out of Zach Wheeler. He went 4 innings, gave up 6 earned runs on 6 hits, gave up a home run. He walked 3 and struck out 2. Like, he just did not have his A+ stuff out there. Not what you expect to see from him. And yeah, I mean, just not something we expect to see from him in this game either. Obviously, I mean, he's been lights out all season long. I don't think we're going to see 2 terrible starts from him, unless maybe he's hurt or something, but there was no indication of that. So I think we can expect good things from him, and we can continue to expect good things here from the Phillies offense, who continues to put up just crazy numbers. We see they're 2nd in the majors in runs scored, 3rd in batting average, 2nd in on-base percentage. Like, this team is absolutely hitting the cover off the ball. We see Bryce Harper doing really well now that he's back out there. Like, everything is pointing up for the Phillies right now. Like, things are definitely looking good for them, and the odds makers agree with me here. We see the Phillies at -290 for this game. The Nationals are +235, and we've got an over-under of 7.5. Guys, obviously I'm not interested in taking any team at -290. I also don't really like the Nationals' chances in this game at +235, so that kind of leaves us with the run line here in the Phillies game and on the Phillies side. And if you take a -1.5, you can get them at around -115, it looks like to me. So I think that's slightly appealing. We'll wait and see before we decide for sure whether we're going to add this to the pinned comment. But yeah, that's the way I'm leading in this one. I'm not interested in the over-under of 7.5 unless you wanted to take the over, thinking that Wheeler might have a bad start, but 7.5 just isn't enough runs, and yeah, I don't like either side of that one. So give me the Phillies -1.5, and we'll see if this ends up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Chicago White Sox going on the road to start off their series with the New York Yankees. The White Sox not looking too great this season at 14-30 overall, but they have won their last 2 in a row, which is kind of shocking. And yeah, I mean, maybe they're on a little bit of a roll here. They're handing the ball to Mike Clevenger, who's 0-1 to start the season with a 5.40 ERA, but he was good his last time out against the Cleveland Guardians. He only gave up a single run on 4 hits over 4 2/3 innings. So obviously not going deep into the game, but he looked good while he was out there, so give credit to him where credit is due. You have to pitch really well to win for the White Sox, obviously. I mean, over their 2-game winning streak, they shut out their opponents in both of those games. They scored 2 and 4 runs respectively, so not hitting the cover off the ball. This has clearly been the worst offense in baseball this season. I mean, dead last in runs scored, dead last in on-base percentage. They're dead last in all the major categories, guys. We're not going to waste a bunch of time here talking about the White Sox offense. It's no secret to anybody watching this video that they are just not a good offensive team, and they're going to need to score some runs here, you would think, going up against the New York Yankees, who come into this game fresh off of a 4th straight win. They're just killing it right now. They're up to 30-15 on the season, won 5-0 at the Twins in their last game, and now they get to play against what has to look like a cupcake opponent here in the White Sox. They're handing the ball in this one to Nestor Cortez, who's 1-4 in the season with a 4.02 ERA, and kind of is in need of a bounce back performance, as he didn't look great great against the Tampa Bay Rays his last time out. He got homered off of twice. He gave up 4 earned runs on 5 hits over 5 1/3. He had 3 walks in that game. Like, just not a great outing for him, but he has had some positive outings this season. But obviously with an ERA of over 4, you can tell the guy has some work to do here. And I mean, a lot of times, though, that's just not going to matter for the Yankees. They're one of the best offenses in the majors. Over their last 4 games, they've scored 5, 4, 5, and 10 runs. Like, that'll get the job done. This team is 6th in the majors in runs scored, 3rd in on-base percentage. They're all the way up to 4th now in slugging percentage. They have a slugging percentage of .419 right now. Like, that's pretty respectable, guys. Team batting average is 6th in the majors. We see Juan Soto, Aaron Judge. Everybody's hitting the ball well right now. We just saw Paul Volpe hit a home run to give the Yankees the early lead against the Twins. Like, this team swinging some hot bats right now, clearly feeling good about themselves, and the odds makers are feeling great about them also, because we've got another huge favorite on our hands, guys. We've got the Yankees at -290, the White Sox at +235, and yeah, guys, I'm not excited about the White Sox here. Obviously, I'm not excited about anyone at -290, like I said, but we'll take a little look here at the Yankees against the run line, and if you take a -1.5, you can get them at that -115 or -120 number, depending on which bookmaker you're using, so I think that's a pretty reasonable price, and I think they've got a very good chance here to squash what little positive things the White Sox have going, so there's a chance this ends up in the pinned comment. Going against the run line isn't necessarily something I love, but we'll definitely be taking a look at this, as I think the Yankees are the far, far better team. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Minnesota Twins going on the road to take on the Cleveland Guardians. We just saw the Twins get swept by the Yankees. They lost 3 in a row in that one. They did win 2 out of 3 in their series before that at Toronto, so maybe not a complete disaster here, but they're down to 24-19 on the season, which can't feel great. Handing the ball in this one to Simeon Woods Richardson, who's off to a 1-0 start with a 3.24 ERA, but man, the guy's in need of a bounce back because he got shelled his last time out by the Toronto Blue Jays, guys. He went 4 1/3, gave up 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs in that game. Like, just did not look great. We've seen a lot of his good numbers this season come against some of the worst teams in the majors, at, you know, like some of the worst hitting teams in the majors. So I mean, the guy was due for a little bit of regression here. There's no doubt about it. And while he's had his moments, they haven't been against the best hitting teams. And the Twins come into this game obviously not hitting the ball great. Guys, in their entire series against the Yankees, they scored a grand total of 1 run. Yeah, that's not going to work. This offense definitely has had its high points, but a lot of those have been against not the best opponents. They are still 12th in the majors in runs scored and 8th in slugging percentage, but their on-base percentage and batting average are around league average, so we're not going to freak out about that. We don't really look at this as a super plus offense right now, and they're going to have to find a way to score some runs here going up against the Guardians, who are 27-17 now. They do come into this game fresh off a loss to the Rangers, but they won 2 out of 3 in that series, so they're probably not feeling too bad about that. And just in general, this team looking pretty good. 27-17 will get the job done, and they're handing the ball in this one to Tristan McKenzie, who's 2-3 to start his season with a 3.54 ERA, and man, his last 5 starts have looked very, very good. He's not given up more than 2 earned runs in any of those starts. He looked very good against the White Sox. Before that, against the Tigers, he looked good. Before that, against the Astros, he looked good. Like, he hasn't been taking on the toughest opponents, I'll give you that. But, man, he has been dealing when he's been out there lately. And the Guardians will definitely take that at this point. And their offense hasn't been looking as elite as it did early in the season, but they're still top 10 in runs scored, guys. And over their last 4 games, they've scored 0, 7, 7, and 7 runs. So that will also work. I mean, 21 runs over your last 4 games, even if you got shut out in one of them, like, no problem there. Definitely looking like a solid hitting team. They miss Quan, there's no doubt about it. We still don't necessarily know when he's likely to be back. I mean, he's still on the IL. He's slated to miss approximately 4 weeks, so we'll see how long. I mean, we're 10 days into that 4 weeks, so we'll see when he actually comes back. But yeah, it's been tough without him out there, but they're starting to find their way, and this is definitely a plus offensive team even without him. And the odds makers definitely agree with us. We see the Twins at +102, the Guardians at -120. We see Minnesota is a solid road team, guys. They're 13-8 on the road, but the Guardians are 12-6 at home, so those kind of cancel each other out. I'm also not interested in the over-under in this game, but guys, I do like the Guardians -120 a good amount at home in this one. I think they're on the much better side of the pitching matchup. I haven't been high on Simeon Woods Richardson at all really this season. He's only looked good against bad teams, and the Guardians are not a bad team. So I like Cleveland a good amount in this one. Has a very solid shot to end up in the pin comment. Next up, guys, we have the New York Mets going on the road to take on the Miami Marlins. The Mets not having the best time right now, although they're trying to battle back here against the Phillies and salvage 1 game out of this series. Things have just not been looking great for them. They're handing the ball in this game to Christian Scott, who's 0-1 to start the season, but he's got a 2.84 ERA, so that hasn't been bad. He's only making his 3rd start of the year, but he's looked pretty good. I mean, his last start against the Atlanta Braves, he did give up 3 earned runs, but he went 6 innings, he gave up only 6 hits. He did give up a home run in that game, so not exactly great, but in his first start of the year back on the 4th of this month, he went 6 2/3 and only gave up a single run to the Rays, so that's definitely a positive outing, and yeah, just in general, have to feel pretty good handing him the ball. I mean, that's a good start to your season, no doubt, but the Mets bats have not been looking amazing. I mean, they have scored 2 runs in this game, they're trying to score some more, but man, things not looking fantastic for them. I mean, they're a below MLB average offensive team, looking like they're going to settle down there into the bottom 2/3 of the majors, and that's not what the Mets or their fans or anybody were hoping for. I mean, it's tough. This wasn't probably going to be one of the best hitting teams out there, obviously, but things just haven't really come together for them. They're 19th in runs scored, 17th in on-base percentage. Like, nobody's hitting the ball particularly well for them right now. Just not one of the best offensive teams out there. But good news for them is they're taking on the Miami Marlins. Bad news for them, though, the Marlins have been playing pretty well lately. They've actually won 3 out of the last 4 overall. They won 2 out of 3 against the Detroit Tigers. But, man, in that series against the Tigers, they won the last 2 games of that series 1-0 and then 2-0. So not tons of offense there, but the Marlins are hitting the ball in this one to Jesus Luzardo. He's off to an 0-3 start with a 5.97 ERA, so not exactly killing it overall this season, but his last couple of starts have been pretty reasonable. I mean, his last time out, he went up against the Philadelphia Phillies, like one of the best offenses in baseball right now. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up only 2 earned runs on 4 hits, so that's not a bad outing at all. I mean, he struck out 8 and walked 1 in that game. Like, very, very solid stuff from him in that one. His start before that against the Cubs was also good, but then he had a couple of questionable ones. But I think we have to be a little bit concerned if we're a Mets fan about, like, this dude's looking pretty good out there on the mound right now, and the Mets bats are not. And Miami, while they have not been hitting the ball well, obviously scoring 2, 1, and 5 runs in their series against Detroit, like, they're not the worst offensive team in the majors, I guess we can say. I mean, they're tied for 26th in runs scored. They're tied for 26th in batting average. They're only 1 spot above last in on-base percentage and slugging percentage. So not a great offensive team by any stretch of the imagination, but they've been finding a way to hold teams down with their pitching. So that's at least something to look at here. And in this game, we're seeing the Marlins at plus 106 at home. We see the Mets at minus 124, and we've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. So I don't know, guys. This is kind of a tough spot. 2 teams we don't really trust. We see that Miami is 6-17 at home, which is the MLB worst. The Mets are only 9-9 on the road this season, though, so not exactly killing it on the road right now, and not exactly killing it in general at the moment. So I tend to look towards the Mets a little bit, but I also think the under might have some validity in this game. But I don't know. If you're forcing me to bet this game, guys, I guess go ahead and give me the under. But I'm not going to be betting it myself. This is not a spot I'm particularly fond of whatsoever. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the San Diego Padres going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. Things are pretty effed in San Diego right now, guys. They just got swept in a 3-game series of the Colorado Rockies. How do you win a 3-game series, 2-1 against the Dodgers, and then get swept by the Rockies? Absolutely wild stuff. The Padres are all the way down to 22-24 on the season, so that's not great. They're hitting the ball here to Matt Waldron, hoping he can stem the tide, but hasn't really been his forte this season, guys. He's 1-5 overall with a 5.49 ERA. Over his last 5 starts, we've seen his team go 1-4, so that can't feel great, especially when his last start was against the Dodgers, and he gave up only 2 earned runs over 5 1/3. That's a very good start against a very good team, but man, he really needed that good start to bounce back, because he had not had a good time in his 2 starts before that, and those were against the Diamondbacks and the Reds. Not great hitting teams. So I don't know, guys. Things are looking a little bit weird for Waldron. Like I said, he is coming off of a good start, but the Padres offense has not looked good either. And I mean, obviously neither is their pitching staff, but they lost 8-0, 6-3, and 5-4 against the Rockies in their series against them. Not a great look. The Padres are not supposed to be losing series or losing very many games even to the Colorado Rockies. So I don't know, man. The Padres, they've got good numbers offensively. This should be a good offensive team, but they just have not looked good. I mean, you're 6th in the majors in runs scored and 8th in the majors in on-base percentage, and you still can't put up any runs against the Colorado Rockies? I don't know, guys. Things are looking very, very dim for them. I don't have a lot of positive things to say about the Padres right now, but I do have some positive things to say about their opponent in this game, the Atlanta Braves, who just won 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. They're up to 26-14 on the season, and they're handing the ball in this game to Max Fried, who's 3-1 on the year with a 3.57 ERA, and his last time out, he absolutely dominated the New York Mets. He didn't give up a hit over 7 innings. He did walk 3, but he struck out 5, and he just looked lights out in that one. It was kind of a bounce back from giving up 4 earned runs over 7 to the Dodgers, but that's not really a bad start against the Dodgers, so we're not gonna I'm not going to like talk bad about him for that at all. Like that's a very reasonable start. And just in general, the guys looked very, very good this season. And the Braves bats have come alive here a little bit, not a ton. I mean, we have seen them have a lot of success over their last 8 games. They're 6-2, so that'll definitely work. I mean, they did play the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Cubs, so maybe not a murderer's row of opponents, but not terrible opponents by any stretch. So, I mean, this team, they keep putting up runs. I mean, they're 13th in runs scored, which obviously isn't amazing, but they're still 5th in on-base percentage, 6th in slugging percentage, and 5th in batting average. So while they've had their problems, they've had some injuries and stuff like that, I do expect this squad to kind of continue to get back on track here, to continue looking good. Not a bad offense at all. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the odds makers definitely agree with us. We see the Braves as big favorites at -215. The Padres are +180, which, my God, guys, how many times do you think you're going to see the Padres at +180 this season? But I've got no faith in them right now. I mean, Matt Waldron, not my guy. Max Fried, he seems like way more my guy, but I'm also not interested in the Braves at -215. So as crazy as this sounds, guys, I think it might actually be better value to just take a little flyer here on the Padres and hope their bats just go absolutely crazy in this game. I mean, you're getting them at +180, so maybe that has some value. We see an over-under in this game of 8.5, so I think the under actually has a decent amount of value in this game. We see the Padres are 24, 21, and 1 to the over, but obviously you're not hitting the ball well at all right now, and we see that Atlanta is actually an MLB best to the under team this season. They're 25, 13, and 2 to the under, so go ahead and give me the under if you're really jonesing to bet this game, but in general, I think this is going to be one I stay away from. I don't have a lot of faith in the Padres at all right now, and Waldron has been inconsistent, and while Fried's been good and the Braves have been good, I'm not really interested in them at -215 against a Padres team that shouldn't be nearly as bad as they've looked. So go ahead and give me the under, but other than that, I'm staying away from this one. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Los Angeles Angels going on the road to take on the Texas Rangers. The Angels come into this game fresh off of losing 2-3 to the Cardinals, but they did win the last game of that series to salvage one. But at 16-28 on the season, can't be feeling too hot about how things look. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be a good team. Mike Trout getting hurt makes them an even worse team and a much less exciting team. I can only imagine they're selling infinitely less tickets without him out there. And yeah, I don't think handing the ball to Tyler Anderson is really going to completely turn things around for their entire season. I mean, the dude looked decent his last time out, but he gave up 3 earned runs over 6 2/3 to the light-hitting Kansas City Royals. So not exactly an amazing start. His outing before that, he got lit up by the Pirates, another very bad offensive team. And yeah, he's not taking on the worst offensive team in this one. So I don't have a ton of faith here in him. And obviously there's no reason to have faith in the Angels offense. I mean, they did score 7, 6, and 5 runs against the Cardinals, but it's against the Cardinals, so we're not exactly going to freak out about that. And this offense hasn't been great. They're around league average. They've been holding on to their numbers a little bit better than I thought they would with Trout going out, but just not enough to get me excited about them. And they're going to need to score some runs here against the Texas Rangers, who come into this game needing to turn things around. I mean, they did just win 4-0 against Cleveland, but they got swept by the Rockies, those red-hot Colorado Rockies. Who would have thought? But then they lost their first 2 to Cleveland to run that losing streak to 5 games, and then they finally got the 4-0 win to like turn things around. But man, things not looking super hot from the Rangers. They're hoping Andrew Heaney can turn things around, but they haven't been giving him a whole lot of help. He's 0-4 in the season with a 4.39 ERA, and his last time out against the Rockies didn't look amazing. He went 5 innings, gave up 8 hits. His start before that against the Oakland A's, not a great hitting team. He gave up 7 hits over 6 innings, so once again, not amazing. His control's been great. He's not walking anybody, but man, he's getting touched up a little bit. I mean, 2 earned runs, 1 earned run, 1 earned run. Those will definitely work, but it seems like he's due to give up a lot here. I mean, or maybe not here, but at some point soon. I mean, you're giving up that many hits, eventually you're going to get touched up for some runs. And yeah, the Rangers offense obviously hasn't been looking great lately. You're going on losing streaks. It's not a sign that your offense is really clicking. And they are still 5th in the majors with 213 runs scored, but yeah, they're 8th in batting average, 9th in on-base percentage, 12th in slugging percentage. You would think this is a top 10 offense, right? It doesn't look like that quite so much, at least not recently. And while they obviously have chances to bounce back, do we really think it's going to be against Tyler Anderson, who hasn't been a terrible starter, guys? I don't know. The odds makers think they have a pretty good chance in this one. They've got the Rangers at -162. The Angels are +136. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. But yeah, guys, in general, I just don't really like this game. I mean, we see the Rangers are 11-11 at home. Not a lot to go off of there. We see the Angels are 10-12 on the road. Not a lot to go off of there. We don't really like where either starter is at. We don't really like where either offense is at. So we can't really play the over with any certainty. We can't really play the under with any certainty. So yeah, this game, I don't really love this spot. You're forcing me to bet it. I guess give me the Rangers -162 to bounce back and like find a way to score some runs or something. But in general, I am staying away from this one. Next up, guys, we're going to the Milwaukee Brewers going on the road to take on the Houston Astros. The Brewers come into this game fresh off of winning their last 2 against against the Pirates to win that series 2-1. They're up to 26-17 on the season, so I'm sure they feel pretty decent about that. And they're handing the ball in this game to Freddie Peralta, who's looked very good in general this season, but his last couple of starts have left a little bit to be desired. I mean, 3 earned runs over 5 innings against the Cubs, not terrible, but not great. He walked 6 in that game, which is the big concern there, though. And then his start against the light-hitting Cardinals, he looked very good, but I mean, maybe very is a little bit too strong because he gave up 8 hits over 6 innings and 3 earned runs, but he struck out 8 and walked 1 in that one. So it looks like he's getting back on track here. And I mean, the guy's gotten off to a good start to his season. 3-1 with a 3.63 ERA is nothing to turn your nose up at. And the Brewers' offense in general seems to be back on track. I mean, they scored 10, 4, and 6 runs in their series against the Pirates. They're up to 3rd in the majors in runs scored, 4th in batting average. They're also 4th in on-base percentage, getting on base at a 337 clip. That's very respectable. Their team slugging percentage is 429, which is 3rd in the majors. Like, this team is hitting the absolute cover off the ball, and they're going up against an opponent that hasn't been having the best time this season. We currently see the Astros, they're up 6-0 in the end of the 3rd inning against the A's, so they're feeling pretty good in that game, and they've dominated that series in general. This is looking like it has a very good chance to be their 5th straight win, so things are turning around in Houston for sure. They're 18-25 on the season, but getting to play a bunch of games against the Detroit Tigers and the Oakland A's might have just a little bit to do with that. They're going to be handing the ball in this game to Hunter Brown, who, yeah, guys, not off to a great start. He's 0-4 in the season with a 7.79 ERA. He has looked decent in his last 2 starts, but those starts were against the Seattle Mariners, where he went 4 1/3 and gave up 5 hits and 2 earned runs. That's not exactly great, especially against the Mariners. He also walked 4 in that game. And then in the start after that, he went on the road against Detroit. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, only a single earned run, but it was a home run in that game. So not insane numbers, and definitely not against the most insane opponents. Definitely not as good of offenses as we see or expect to see from the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Houston offense, while it has come alive a little bit here, we have to take into account who they've been going up against, guys. It has not been amazing. I mean, they're not facing the toughest opponents. Sure, this team's been putting up good numbers, but that's been going on all season long. We haven't seen them put up a ton of runs. I mean, they're still around league average in runs scored, so I don't have a crazy amount of faith here in the Astros, and neither do the odds makers. They've got the Brewers at -112, Houston at -104, and we've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. I mean, I don't know, guys. Getting Freddie Peralta at -112 going against Hunter Brown, even though Hunter Brown's looked better in his last couple starts, it wasn't against good opponents. Guys, I like the Brewers a good amount in this spot. I mean, they're 14-8 on the road, not a bad road record at all. We see Houston is 10-12 at home, which is decent for them, but we're going to be on the Brewers -112 in this game. I think this is a very reasonable spot for them, and I think they have a great chance to come away with a win. Next up on this slate, guys, we got the Boston Red Sox going on the road to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. The Red Sox are currently playing right now. They're down 5-4 in the bottom of the 6th against the Tampa Bay Rays. They're trying to win this game to salvage a split in this 4-game series, and yeah, things haven't been looking amazing for the Red Sox. I mean, they're 22-21 on the season, so that's obviously not exactly how they had things drawn up. They've had a crazy rash of pitcher injuries, though, but they're going to be handing the ball in this game to Brian Bello, who's off to a very good start. He's 4-1 with a 3.13 ERA, so yeah, nothing to turn our noses up at there. I mean, his last couple of starts have looked very, very good. I'd honestly say he's looked good over his last 4 starts. And while only one of those was against a good offense, he only gave a single earned run over 5 1/3 against the Baltimore Orioles. So nothing bad there. And he's obviously not facing a very good offensive team in this one. And the Red Sox bats have come alive here a little bit. I mean, not a crazy amount, but this has been an around league average offense this season. And I think that's kind of where we expect them to end up. I mean, 183 runs scored, tied for 16th in the majors. That's not awful. They're 11th in on-base percentage. Once again, not a terrible number. We haven't seen anybody get off to like a crazy or continue a crazy start for them, but in general, this team's looked pretty decent at the plate. I mean, they're top 10 in slugging percentage, guys. That's not nothing. Like, this isn't a horrible, horrible team. I've seen a lot of people down in the comments, even Red Sox fans, being like, this team is like the worst Red Sox team I've ever seen. Like, I don't think they're quite that bad. I think we might be getting a little hyperbolic here, but they're probably feeling not too bad heading into a series against the Cardinals here, who have been pretty terrible. I mean, they have won 3 of their last 4 overall, but they lost their last game 7-2 against the Angels, and they're only 18-25 on the season. We're hearing all sorts of rumblings about, yeah, nobody's happy right now in St. Louis, guys. The fans are pissed. Everybody's upset. Like, things aren't looking great. They're hoping Kyle Gibbs can turn things around for him here. He's 2-2 on the season with a 3.67 ERA, and yeah, guys, he's looked very good over his last 5 starts. There's no way around it. I mean, his last time out against the Brewers, he did only go 5 innings in that start, but he only gave up 2 earned runs and struck out 7. Like, that's not a terrible outing, especially against a very good offense. Start before that against the Mets, he only gave up 2 earned runs once again. Like, before that, he looked good against Detroit, Arizona. He had another start against Milwaukee where he looked very, very good, but yeah, he's looking good, but the problem with the Cardinals this season has been their offense. It has been absolutely terrible. They're down to 28th in the majors in runs scored, 20th in on-base percentage, 28th in slugging percentage, all the way down to 24th in batting average. Like, this was supposed to be a team with a decent offense. They've got some veteran hitters in there like Arenado and Goldschmidt's, and yeah, guys, things just are looking absolutely terrible for the Cardinals offense right now. And yeah, looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Red Sox as slight favorites at -112. The Cardinals are -104, and we've got an over-under of 8. Guys, I'm not really interested in the side in this one, but I am definitely interested in that under 8. We see Boston, they are 26-14-3 to the under. That'll definitely work. We see the Cardinals 23-18-2 to the under. That's not a huge trend, but it's definitely a trend. And we also see that both teams are putting very good starters out there on the mound. So I think we're going to see offense at a premium in this game. I don't think we're going to see very many runs scored at all. So give me the under in this one. This is definitely going in the pinned comment. Next up, guys, are the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of losing 2-3 to the Marlins. That's not exactly what you're looking for there. They're only 21-22 on the season, so that's also not great. And they're handing the ball in this one to Tyreek Skubal, who's, man, he has been making the best out of a terrible situation. The guy is absolutely dealing out there. He's 5-0 with a 2.02 ERA. His last time out, he shut down the Houston Astros. He went 6 1/3 innings, gave up only 2 earned runs. His start before that, he was crazy lights out against the Yankees. He struck out 12 in 6 innings in that game. Like, the dude is just throwing absolute, just amazing stuff out there, looking like a monster, looking like one of the best starters in the majors right now, to be honest. And man, he just isn't getting a ton of help from his offense. I mean, he's getting those wins for sure, but this offense, not great. They're down to 23rd in the majors in runs scored, 23rd in batting average. Like, over their series against the Marlins, they scored 0, 0, and 6 runs. Like, they got shut out over their last 18 innings, guys. Not a great look. We don't see anybody off to a particularly hot start for them hitting the ball, and yeah, they're going to need to find a way to score some runs here, going up against the Diamondbacks, who've now won 3 out of their last 4. They're up to 21-23 overall, and handing the ball in this one to Ryan Nelson, who's 2-2 with a 5.33 ERA. His last time out, he didn't look great, but it was against the Baltimore Orioles, so we'll cut him just a little bit of slack here. He went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 10 hits, only 3 runs, so he managed to kind of get himself out of trouble, but man, could have been a lot worse. His start before that against the San Diego Padres, also not amazing, although the Padres are supposed to be a really good hitting team, but, you know, they've been having their struggles lately, as you all know. So, I mean, what can we really take from this? Ryan Nelson, I think he definitely qualifies as middle of the road starter, and the Diamondbacks offense has been looking a bit better lately. I mean, they've scored 2, 6, 9, 4, 2 runs, like, so clearly not looking insane. They're still 4th in the majors in runs scored, so got to give them that. I don't think this is really a top 10 offense, but maybe they end up being a top 10 offense. Who knows? But right now, I don't have a crazy amount of faith in them, especially going up against an elite starter. So, guys, I honestly think the value in this game, I mean, looking at the numbers, we see Detroit as -142. The Diamondbacks are +120, and we've got an over-under in this one of 8. I'm not going to be betting this game myself, guys. I'll be completely honest. But I think the side in this one might be the Tigers. I mean, -142 seems steep for them, though, for sure. So this is a tough one for me. If you're forcing me to bet it, I guess give me the Tigers, but I'm not going to be on this one. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we've got the Cincinnati Reds going on the road to take on the LA Dodgers. The Reds come into this game. Things are not looking great in Cincinnati right now, guys. They've lost 4 out of the last 5. They just lost 2 out of 3 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They lost the last game of that series 2-1. They're down to 18-25 on the season. Obviously not great. Things are just not working out. They're handing the ball in this one to Frankie Montas, who is 2-3 with a 4.20 ERA this season. His last time out didn't look good against the San Francisco Giants. Obviously not a great hitting team. He gave up 4 earned runs over 4 2/3 innings. His start before that against the Diamondbacks wasn't terrible. His start before that against the Angels, he only lasted 2/3 of an inning. I can't remember what happened in that game. Must have been something weird, but yeah, things just not looking great here for Montas. Not terrible, but not great. And the Reds' bats are just absolutely dead right now, guys. We see them like closing in on last place in some of these major categories. I mean, they're all the way down to 29th in batting average, 26th in on-base percentage, with an on-base percentage of under 300. Like, not great slugging percent. Like, this team just not having not having a good time right now. And they're going to need to figure something out here going up against the Dodgers, obviously looking like one of the best teams, probably the best team in baseball, honestly. Like, they only won 2 out of 3 against the Giants, which is kind of a surprise, but they're 29-16 on the season, just looking great. They're hitting the ball in this one to James Paxton. He's off to a 5-0 start with a 2.58 ERA. And man, it's not tough to be winning games for the Dodgers, but when you're going out there and allowing only 1 earned run over your last 12 2/3 innings, like, that'll definitely work, guys. He's looking great out there. He's not a huge strikeout guy, but yeah, just in general, absolutely dealing. No notes for him. Looking very, very good, and he's probably licking his chops, getting ready to go up against the Reds here. And the Dodgers offense is obviously looking like the best in baseball, guys. I mean, they only scored 1 run in their last game against the Giants, and I think all that means is they're poised for a giant outburst of offense here. Ohtani's looking great. Everybody's looking great. There's nobody on their roster that's really having a bad time as far as I can tell. And yeah, this offense absolutely top of the top right now. And looking at the numbers for this game, it's a little bit surprising to see the Dodgers only minus 198, but that's still a little bit steep for a team that I think is in such a good spot. So we're going to take a look here at them against the run line. And we do see that the Dodgers, if you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at minus 105. That's probably going in the pinned comment, guys. I'm not going to lie. I like the Dodgers here a lot. I think Paxton is a huge plus starter. So give me the Dodgers minus 1.5. I think they're in a great spot to get a blowout win. Last but not least, guys, we're going to look at the red-hot Colorado Rockies going on the road here to take on the San Francisco Giants. The Rockies coming to this game, they're only 15-28 on the season, but they are riding a 7-game winning streak. They swept the Texans and swept the San Diego Padres. They are just looking crazy, crazy good right now. I don't know what is going on in Colorado, but things are definitely looking up for them. They're handing the ball in this game to Ryan Feltner, who's 1-3 on the season with a 5.20 ERA, but his last time out, he looked very good against the Rangers. He went 6 innings, gave only 2 earned runs. Definitely a positive outing for him. I mean, he only struck out 4 and walked 2, so not terrible, but the guy is looking great out there right now, and the Rockies' bats are absolutely killing it. Over their last few games here, we'll go over their whole winning streak. They scored 8, 6, 5, 3, 8, 4, and 9 runs. This team is hitting the ball way better than they have over the course of the season. And I mean, they're definitely hoping this can continue here going up against a Giants team that they only managed to win 1 out of 3 against a week ago. The Giants come into this game, they're 20-25 on the season. They're coming off of winning 1 out of 3 against the Dodgers, so I guess not terrible against the Dodgers. They're handing the ball in this game to Kyle Harrison, who's 3-1 on the season with a 3.42 ERA, and he's going to be trying to cool off these red-hot Colorado Rockies, a team that he absolutely dominated back on the 7th of this month. He went 7 innings, gave up 0 runs on 4 hits, struck out 2, and walked 2, so a great outing from him there. His last time out, he didn't look great against the Reds. He gave up 3 earned runs over 5 innings, but in general this season, the guy has been very, very good, and he has some positive history here against the Rockies, so we'll definitely be taking that into account. One problem that's faced the Giants lately has been their hitting, and I mean, by lately, I mean most of the season. This is strictly an average to below average offensive team. I mean, they're 22nd in the majors in runs scored, 16th in batting average, 21st in on-base percentage. This team has a lot of work to do if they want to become even a league average offensive team. Not having an amazing time. That's maybe the main reason actually that they're 20-25 on the season. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see that the odds makers are definitely taking the Giants' mediocre offense into account. They've got San Francisco at minus 166, so maybe they're not taking into account as much as I would have thought they would. And we got the Rockies on their winning streak here at plus 140. And man, with Feltner out there on the mound, I don't know. It seems like they've got a chance in this game, but I'm not going to be on them too heavy. I really want to ride their winning streak here, but I don't think the numbers are nearly good enough with Harrison out there on the mound, somebody that's dominated them lately. So I might actually have to go with the Giants in this game. If you're forcing me to bet this game, I guess I'm going to go with my head and not my heart and take the Giants minus 166, as I think Kyle Harrison will find a way to shut them down again, but I'll be rooting for the Rockies for sure. Them being on a hot streak has been kind of fun out here. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.